expanded distribution is coming to the European sports channel Eurosport, which is actually where
That's you.
Yeah, that's where I first watched New Japan. They had like some 1 hour New Japan specials in like 2009, 2010-ish, where I'd just watch random 1 hour New Japan. And it used to be always on in a different time. It was one of those where it was like I could never work out when it was on exactly, and I could never work out what I was seeing. And I'd miss it for weeks, and I'd miss stories, but I would just watch random 1 hour New Japan shows.
I feel like Europe just like had a randomly easier time to getting to Japanese wrestling than most other places.
Because we did have the wrestling channel during this period, which is where TNA is airing regularly at this stage, which had, I don't know how much Japanese wrestling it had, but it had some.
Didn't like ROH make its way to there?
Yeah, it had a ton of US indie stuff.
That's crazy.
And then UK indie as well. I remember saying that there was a Johnny Storm AJ Styles match that they showed to death from some UK company. Really good match though.
Yeah, well, we had WWE Afterburn.
Oh, we had that too, but sure, thanks. So you can have it.
That was the only thing that made it to free TV in Australia.
But Eurosport announced last Friday that they will air 2 total non-stop action specials. The first airs later this month and the second airs in March. The first one will run on February 25, second on March 4th. Both shows will feature highlights of the last year and will run 1 hour. They should show highlights of this year. Last year wasn't very good.
I was going to say, highlights of the last year. Was it going to be a 20-minute show?
At this point, there are no contracts for future shows, but the TNA specials seem to be a test to see if fans in Europe are interested in TNA programming. If Eurosport decides to show more of the TNA programs, it would be a huge deal because the TV station can be received in several European countries, so millions of people would be able to see the shows. The wrestling channel in Great Britain is the only TV station in Europe that airs TNA otherwise.
It's very funny that they're like, to see if Europe will be interested in TNA wrestling programming, and as we know from history, they will be.
But not here, because I don't think they ever do a deal with Eurosport.
But not this exact thing, but you know what? Eventually, TNA will become very popular.
To the extent that there was that time period where people were like, they should just move to England. And if they would have, it would have been like right before the indie boom. So it would have been like the perfect time to do it in the UK.
Honestly, it may have worked. That would be an interesting, maybe like one-off audio thing that we could do at some point. Just discussing the possibility of what it could have looked like if TNA did that. But there is definitely like something to it of like, what if TNA did move their operations there where they could draw bigger crowds that were more into it and a fresher product, and the repercussions of like, you're losing certain stars, some American guys that wouldn't want to come over for tapings, and then people who can't come over for tapings. And then as that evolves, incorporating, the UK boom and bringing in all the talent from like that generation of people, like an Osprey or something would have become someone who could have been picked up from the beginning, and like that. That's such an interesting alternative timeline that could be a fun discussion point.
Yeah, when you look at like how close they came with like, look at the people who were on British Boot Camp, and there are a ton of the people who were like the backbone of the indie boom, including like the likes of Marty Scurll. And like even when they came over in 2016, it's like they booked Osprey, they booked Mark Andrews, was obviously a British Boot Camp winner who was a regular under contract. So there's like they say they came so close is what I'm saying.
I wonder like how realistic that idea actually is with a company that's completely based in another country, but you can't help but like wonder.
Yeah, like we won't get to them for a very long time, but you'll watch those. The first year they ran Impact from the UK is 2012, and like the scale and energy of those shows is so much bigger than anything they've ever done. So you're just like, ugh, there might have been something there, or at the very least. But like at the same time, every year they came back, they did like it wasn't dramatic drop in numbers, but the numbers were lower year on year on year on year. To the extent that they obviously couldn't tour there anymore. That like when they were only drawing like 3,000 to the likes of the MEN Arena and Wembley, because like I went to the Wembley show that had 9,000 people there, the most attended show in TNA history. It's like, good God, this brand's hot here, like legitimately hot.
And you wonder, like, what they could have done if they had have moved TV tapings there, and like if they could have kept that fan base or even grown it from that point.
Yeah, it's a world we can only but think about.
See, I've often mentioned on this show, if I had one superpower, it would be the ability to peer into alternate realities. Because I would love to see what that looks like. You could have Team America as heels.
Who would be on your Team America?
What year are we going with?
It's probably just Planet Jarrett, isn't it?
Well, it depends what year, right?
Mm.
It could be a Jarrett-less year. So, I mean, Angle's the leader, right?
He'd have to be heel though, and the UK always liked Angle.
They liked him because they were seeing him, and I feel like if they were doing like consistent tapings there for a year or something,
They just go with the characters, yeah.
yeah, it would eventually turn into how the characters are presented. They should bring they should do team like North America.
Scott D'Amore, Bobby Roode, Kurt Angle, Eric Young.
Yeah, that sounds great. Imagine like the hybrid tracksuits.
Mm.
Half of it's the Canadian flag and half of it's the American flag.
I don't think anybody in America or Canada would be pleased with that situation.
But guess what, Garrett? We don't care about them anymore. We're in the UK, baby.
On the topic of Canada, they also announced that they would be getting airing Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time in Canada on RDS starting February 4th. RDS is a 24-hour French language all-sports cable network that broadcasts in Quebec.
Is that their first Canada deal?
They had some pay-per-view deals that aired like on delay and stuff, so it's not the first time they've been on Canada. It might be the first time they've been on TV in Canada, but I'm not sure.
Which is, again, kind of a pivotal moment because we were just talking about, how feasible would it be to move a company to a completely different country.
Yeah, there's the 2017 move to Canada movement as well.
Yeah, so I guess in a way they did kind of do it.
Yeah,
just to a different place.
The 2012 move to England movement and the 2017 move to Canada movement.
Yeah.